Hey Cadillac fans, Daniel here on the Jet Fuel Only channel, and Cadillac did make a little bit of history this last week. That's right, the release of the new Blackwing cars, and I think we have some things to talk about, don't you? Yeah, let's talk about them. That's right, Cadillac made history because number one, they've just released their two most powerful Cadillacs ever, and number two, it's probably gonna be the last of the ICE or internal combustion engine sports sedans that Cadillac ever makes, because the future is electric, folks. Unfortunately, whether you like it or not, that's the way it's going. So in this video, we are going to do one important thing first, and that is to clarify this vehicle lineup that Cadillac has going, because I know there's still some of you that don't get it, but don't worry, it's not your fault. Then we're gonna hit up on the features of these new cars in case you didn't see all the press releases that came out. And we're definitely gonna talk about the appearance, which is certainly one of the things that people are arguing the most about on the internet right now. And lastly, I'm gonna talk about why I think these are the Cadillacs that you wanted, whether you think you want them or not. All right, let's get to it. All right, so quickly, let's clarify the lineup. Originally, we had this ATS and the CTS, right? They replaced the ATS with the CT4, and they replaced the CTS with a CT5. The sizes changed slightly because the CTS has always been in between a lot of competitor cars, same with the ATS, and they're trying to get in line with the rest of the competition. Okay, so you had a couple engine options for those cars. That's straight across the board. CTS had something called the V Sport, which some of you don't know. It is like a base model with V features that make it a more track-capable car. For example, electronic limited slip differential, mag ride suspension, and some other sporty options, including some fatter tires. And then, of course, the kings of the lines were the ats-v and cts-v. Those came out in 2016. Well, with the new CT4 and 5 lineups, they decided to skip the whole V-Sport thing. They thought that was confusing, but to make it more confusing, they made CT4Vs and CT5Vs. But these are not the king of the hill. These are equivalent to a V-Sport in a way, although less powered when it comes to the CT5 versus the CTS. But they are essentially the sporty versions of the CT4 and CT5 with, you know, recreationally track-capable features like, again, limited slip differentials, mag ride, other sporty features and looks. So that's what you get for the people that just want a sportier version of the car. Now the kings of the hill are the Blackwing models. So when you see CT4V Blackwing and CT5V Blackwing, any Blackwing, that is the ones that you probably want, right? Those are the ones you're gonna drool at when they drive by if you don't hate it already. Okay, so we've clarified that. Let's quickly talk about some of the major feature changes in these new cars compared to the old ats-v and cts-v. I can't believe I have to say the old ats-v and cts-v now. So we've got these two new cars from Cadillac. They're super proud of them, as they should be. I know they've been working really hard. And the first thing you need to know is Cadillac is more focused about going around a road course, making turns, than they are about going straight line. Not that it's not fun, I know, and that's the thing. cts-v and ats-v drivers love to roll race and drag race. There's certainly more of you out there than there are of you guys tracking your cars, and that's really sad because there's so much being wasted on this car. But I totally get it. I'm in both worlds, I really am. Yes, there have been improvements all around, maybe not quite what you thought. ats-v used to be 464 horsepower, while the new 4V Blackwing is 472. So small improvement there. cts-v was 640, and now our new 5V Blackwing is at 668. So that was a pretty generous bump, but some people I think wanted to see 700. Either way, these both improved the horsepower, mostly through intake design changes. That has really helped. I mean, if you throw an intake on your ats-v or cts-v, probably with tuning, you could probably do the same thing or better. New mag ride suspension. Cadillac's always been leading in the mag ride suspension category, and they just, that is what makes these sedans so much more capable than they ever could have been. They've got, of course, new suspension all around. The brakes have improved, huge brakes on that 5V Blackwing, and now, for the first time, carbon ceramic brakes are available. However, I'm still not sure even Cadillac owners are ready for the prices of carbon ceramic brakes. They sound cool, they look cool, and they don't dust, and they work great. That's all awesome. But did you know, if you go to your C7 Corvettes, they had carbon ceramic brakes too, and you know how much it was to replace those? About 12 grand. That's right, $12,000. Are you ready for your $12,000 brake job? A lot of you used car people probably aren't, I know that. But the carbon ceramic rotors, yeah, probably about $6,000 from GM. Of course, you can get them a lot cheaper off the market, but we're still talking big money. The good thing is those rotors will last through about 4 or 5 sets of pads, but even the pads, $500 to $1,000 just for the pads on those. As for tires, they got bigger tires. I know the CT-5V Blackwing has at least 10 millimeters wider, 305s on the rear, which is a good idea, I would say, for all of that power. And the transmission, oh my God, everyone is so excited that the cts-v replacement now has a 6-speed manual transmission available, and of course a manual is available on the CT4V Blackwing, just like the ats-v had. People love that. People love to row their gears. But what I'm interested to find out is how much faster the 10-speed is gonna be. Did you know that when it came to the Mustang GT, when they brought that 10-speed transmission, that car was half a second quicker and 3 miles per hour faster in the quarter mile than the manually shifted car? Even with that no-lift shift stuff, half a second in the quarter mile, you straight line people might need to reconsider your dang manual. I know it's fun, but if you want to really break records, you need to start with the faster transmission. But I get it. We like shifting gears. According to Cadillac, all-wheel drive didn't make it any faster around the track. And so that extra weight, extra technology, they threw it out the window. Yes, it probably could have done a better 0 to 60, probably a better quarter mile time, but like I said, Cadillac is not so worried about that straight line performance, especially in a world where cars are more and more focused on quality of handling and the enjoyment of driving. By the way, all-wheel drive, that would have been my preference, honestly, and if you think, oh, well, I like the rear-wheel drive because I like to hoon it, right? I get it, but BMW, you can push a button and the car goes into full rear-wheel drive mode, or at least 95%, and you can have all the fun you want. All right, let's move on to the interior. Extra features there, yeah, better wireless charging, wireless CarPlay, I love that. Better digital cluster, better heads-up display. Those seats, oh, those beautiful seats are really great. So good job there, but Cadillac, why couldn't you have brought us an interior as fabulous as the new Escalade? Man, that cockpit is nice. But with these CT4 and CT5, I kind of feel like I'm in a Chevy Malibu. It doesn't excite me, sorry. Okay, speaking of appearances, yeah, we need to talk about that. Probably the most debated thing on the internet, Facebook groups and forums right now, the looks. People were expecting a lot more aggressive looking car and they just didn't get it. But you guys need to look closer and you probably need to see it in person. I haven't seen it in person, but some people have told me when they saw it in person finally, just this last weekend, they changed their mind. They liked it. Yes, it sits a little high. Remember that these days there's a lot of safety things that they have to consider, height of the car, height of the hood, things like that. It's a constant battle for engineers, but this is what we get. Okay, outside. You know, some people say it doesn't look very much different than the V. Remember, the V is the lower version now. And it doesn't look too much different, but look closer. I mean, there are definitely some more muscular body lines. They're not so bold. The front lower opening is bigger. It's got these 2 big openings here on the left and right side. They're not very apparent. Right now in the black, they just kind of look like a big goofy grin, honestly, from a distance, but you look close and you see those. I think in future versions, maybe accenting those a little more and it would make it look a little more aggressive. First, those of you who said, oh, no side vents, there are. Look at the rear 3/4 view. You got the vents that you have to see from behind, and those look really cool. And they're actually functional, and that's awesome. No hood extractor, but I know, though they look cool, but if it's not necessary, GM's not gonna put it in there. Remember, Cadillac's goal was to make this car faster. For like, actually faster, and they weren't gonna just put BS in there, although there's probably a little BS sprinkled around, but hey. The rear end. The 4V Blackwing, oh man, that's a tough trunk lid, you guys. And then the rear end of the 5V Blackwing, there's already been the Honda comments. I get it. This is the new design language. You see it all the time. A lot of manufacturers kind of start following the same direction. Remember in the 80s there was squared off cars, and then in the 90s there was these round bubbly cars, and now we've got this look. That's just how it is, folks. Soon enough you're gonna look back at the cts-v3 and go, ooh, that thing is boxy. The quad exhaust is pretty good looking. Those fat tires on the 5V Blackwing definitely look good. The diffuser, it's a little weak, I think, but yeah. But what I want to say about this, you guys, everyone that's arguing, I would say that there are probably more of you arguing that you hate it than those of you that say you love it, and maybe those people are just embarrassed. But if you go back in time, with every generation, people say these things. They're not happy with the amount of power, or they're not happy with the rear end of the car. I mean, when this CTS base model came out, we're just like, I don't know. And then the V3 though, looked pretty good. Lots of aggression there, so that's cool. But you know, people didn't like certain aspects, and they're like, I'm gonna stick with my other car. But slowly, one by one, a lot of those people flip, and now they're chasing the next car that they didn't like in the past. So what I'm saying, folks, is you don't know that this is probably the Cadillac or Cadillacs that you want because you're just not used to it yet. You really aren't. And maybe you'll still always prefer the V3, but eventually I think you're gonna come around to this, especially when you see it in person. You gotta look at the right pictures. I mean, look at these pictures of the white CT5V Blackwing. Nah. But then Car and Driver had these red ones, and I have to say there's definitely something that looks better about this one. And it's all about just what you do with it. And we've seen what just, you know, some lowering springs and some wheels and some tint can do to a car. I mean, to look at my car before and after, huge difference, and that is possible. Remember that rendering of the CT5V Blackwing? You guys, that's not far off. So if it could look like that, or just throwing a couple $1,000s at it could get it to that point, I think you might want to be considering it. But there's one thing that you need to remember that might really make you not want this car, and that is tunability. You ats-v and cts-v guys love to tune, V-Sport guys too. And the latest ECU is even more encrypted than ever. You know, the Corvette C8s, no one's cracked them yet. People are doing piggyback systems, but that's because there's so much electronics now. From Cadillac, they've said that things like, you know, the steering is electronic, the throttle is electronic. There's so many connectivity things here that they needed to lock it down more for cybersecurity, so nobody hacks your car, not just so nobody tunes your car. So that's gonna make it pretty tough. Now, not impossible. Pretty much every car's been broken already in the past, so it's just a matter of time. But remember, the coding is getting exponentially harder these days. So yeah. If you guys want to make serious power, stick with your ats-v and cts-v for now, and maybe in a couple of years I'll pick up a CT5V Blackwing when it's tunable and when I get a little more used to the looks myself. Yeah. So let's keep those things in mind, folks. There are definitely some reasons to be buying this car, and you'll come around. Mark my words, folks. You'll come around. Okay, feel free to comment below. Argue with me, flame war, whatever. You guys want to battle it out, please be respectful in the comments if you do start some stuff there. Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit the like, subscribe button, and the bell to be notified of future videos. Thanks so much for watching the Jet Fuel Only channel. We'll see you next time.